Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So, when you buy a new phone, like the LG G5, for example, you're obviously excited about what's new and the next couple of years you're going to spend with this. But you could also be somewhat overwhelmed, assuming you haven't had a new phone in a couple of years. Things have changed. We have Marshmallow now, software features are focusing on new areas, and there's things like fingerprint sensors on everything. So, to help you get started with your G5, we thought we'd follow up one of our most popular posts in recent weeks, which was 10 first things you should do with the Galaxy S7, and now give you the 10 first things you should do with your LG G5. So, like the Galaxy S7, one of the first things I would suggest you do is take advantage of the phone's micro SD card slot. So, 32 gigs of internal storage here. You can fill that up pretty quickly with apps, games, music, and of course, all of the photos you're going to take with the dual camera setup. So, SD card slot is actually not hidden, but it's next to the SIM card slot. So, in here is your tray. So, a little pin in that hole. Pop that out. You get SIM card slot and micro SD slot. Throw up to 2 TB cards in, although those don't really exist, and you have that much expandable storage. I would suggest maybe a 200 gig or 128 gig card. Just make the investment so that going forward you really don't have to worry about storage. From there, if we stick here on the back side, I would suggest setting up fingerprints on the fingerprint sensor almost immediately. In fact, I would suggest setting up both index fingers, since when you pick your phone up, you tend to put your index finger right there on that spot, and then by just setting it on top, you can unlock your phone pretty quickly. So this is sort of a capacitive style button where it does click, but you don't need to click it in order to unlock. All you need to do is just set your finger on there and it unlocks. So set up with both index fingers, and I suggest that because those are just the two fingers you're probably going to use the most. So you go into settings and fingerprint and security and fingerprints, and you can just start setting those up. You may even want to do middle fingers just to add some extra flexibility there in case your finger has a band-aid on it or something like that. After setting those up, I would then maybe consider LG's knock code. So if you're not familiar with knock code, it allows you to, without your screen being on, tap out a pattern on your lock screen or just on your screen, and it'll unlock your device. So why I suggest that is because the fingerprint reader is on the back. Now, if it's laying on a desk like this, it's kind of hard to get your fingerprint back there to unlock your phone. So with knock code, you don't really have to pick it up, and you can tap out that pattern and it should unlock your device. It's a handy little trick that LG introduced actually a couple of years ago. Now you'll find it in settings, lock screen, and under select screen lock, you'll see knock code. I have selected, but you'll find it in there and it'll walk through a setup. It's one of those things where you just set up a tapping pattern throughout your lock screen. And again, it does it with the screen off. So again, I have my phone sitting down, tap that out, and it unlocks. Just a little handy feature if you are using a fingerprint reader. Now, the next thing I would suggest is one of the things that LG introduced before almost anyone else, and that was shortcuts embedded into some of the physical buttons. Now, we don't have one on the power button, but we do have one for volume down and one for volume up. So if we double tap volume up, it actually launches into their Capture Plus, which is a little note app. So if you really want to quickly jump in and jot down a note, a phone number, a name, or your next $1 million idea, this is a good way to do it. So again, with your screen off, that is double tap on volume up, gives you a blank slate, and you can draw something out. The other shortcut then is a double tap on volume down, and that launches into the camera. At least it's supposed to, if I can get that right. There we go. It is not as fast as Samsung's double tap on the home button, but it does work. A double tap there on your volume down. So to adjust this, you can go into settings and all the way down, and there's actually a shortcut key section where you can toggle that off or on. So you may not actually want that to work, and you can turn it off. Otherwise, those are the other options you can adjust there. Up next, I would suggest turning on LG's always on display. So if I actually lock my phone, you can see this sort of come on there. Always on display, LG's version, I've talked about this before, is better than Samsung's in that it actually shows you real information. While you're not seeing much there for me other than date and time, it will show you notifications as they come in. It actually just shows you the icons, but Samsung doesn't even do that. So you are at a little bit of an advantage here. So to turn that on, you just jump into settings, find display, which is here, And once you're in there, there's a toggle for always on. Now, I suggest this because it's been off out of the box on the 3 different versions of the G5 that I have in house right now. So make sure you go in and toggle that on. Now, you can actually adjust a couple of additional settings on what you might want to show, but that's pretty much it. I would recommend that, and LG hasn't suggested that it's going to eat away your battery life, so you definitely want to take a look at it. The next thing, this is one of those areas where I don't necessarily ever suggest this, but with this phone I'm going to, and that's to install a third-party launcher. So LG, it sort of ran itself into a bit of a controversy when it, let's see if I can get in here real quick. When it decided to take away the app drawer in the LG G5. So I know app drawer going away is not a huge deal, but for some of us, it really is a big deal. And it sort of brings out iOS and this sort of unorganized dislike for a home screen setup. So I would actually recommend you install a third-party launcher. Now, when you open your G5 out of the box, you will have 2 options, Home or Easy Home. So Home is the default version with some advanced features, no app drawer. Easy Home takes away every meaningful feature, but does give you an app drawer, and I would never recommend anyone do it. LG said we're going to get a new Home for UX 5.0 that will actually arrive, we think via update, maybe LG's Smart World App Store. We're not exactly sure yet. You can actually install the UX 4.0 Home right now, and that'll give you an app drawer. But trust me, you don't even want to install that. Just go to Google Play and install a third-party home launcher. There are so many good ones. The Google Now launcher, for example, is Google's launcher. It's free, and it's great. It's simple, it's fast, and it works well, and it gives you access to Google Now. I personally like Nova Launcher. It's pretty advanced, also comes with a price if you want the Prime version, but there's Action Launcher 3 and Smart Launcher, and there's all these different launchers out there to try that are better than what LG is doing. So seriously, if you own this phone, don't complain about the Home not having an app drawer, just go install one. There are so many good ones out there. Once you found a new launcher, I would then suggest maybe going into settings and finding apps and start disabling the bloatware that's going to come preloaded on your phone. So depending on the carrier you get, the number of bloatware will change. This is an AT&T model. This is a T-Mobile model, and I will show you the differences. So this is AT&T. Now, I've already disabled most of the apps, and by the way, in order to do that, settings, apps, and then you have your list of all apps. If you want to disable something and it's a system app, you would tap on it and then look for the disable button, hit that, and I'll just show you how it works now. It disables it, and then it's no longer really available for access on your phone. You can enable it again, but for now, it's disabled. Now, again, this is the AT&T version. I'll just show you the number of garbage apps AT&T preloads on here. And with this phone, on this AT&T G5, it is insane. The first boot you pull up, there's notifications for DirecTV and I think Protect Plus and some other things, and Lookout starts scanning things, and it is a terrible, terrible thing. And AT&T and LG together should be ashamed of themselves. So you can see I've disabled all of this crap because there's a lot of crap on here. Now, T-Mobile, on the other hand, if we jump in, same area here, we go into apps, and I've disabled quite a bit of stuff. I typically leave the My T-Mobile app or My AT&T app because those do come in handy. But you can see there's just not a lot of bloatware on here that I've needed to disable. So that's where you'll find that. I highly suggest you do that just to get that garbage out of your way. So the next thing I would suggest then would be adjusting your quick toggles and this sort of notification shade area. So you can do this on either phone, and I'll show you one difference already. So with the T-Mobile version, to edit this, there's a little pencil icon. On the AT&T version, there is actually this sort of 3-dotted double arrow icon. So we'll tap on that, and you can see it gets you into a very similar screen here. So we'll just switch back to this AT&T model. But why I suggest you go in here for a couple of reasons. There's obviously a lot going on in here, and I just recommend making it sort of fit you and sort of your style. So you can see I have my 5 most used, let me swipe that over, my 5 most used quick toggles here, along with a brightness slider that's also set to auto. But you can change this. So you can drag and drop these things around and really adjust the sort of layout of everything. Maybe you want your volume slider as well. So if I hit done, you can see I now have a volume slider here that I can adjust. My organization up here has changed, but you can still swipe over here. Either way, the point is just sort of make this yours, because you can really sort of access things quickly and get a lot of things done by just swiping down your notification panel. Next up, I would suggest jumping into the smart settings. So if we scroll down a little bit here, if I can find it, so there is an option in your settings called smart settings. And if we tap on that, you should have 4 options. Now it's a little bit like Motorola's Moto Actions, if you're familiar with those. Essentially what it's trying to do is automate your phone during certain situations, locations, or even when an app opens. So you'll see there's a thing that you could set up when at home, when you're away from home, when headphones are plugged in, or when a Bluetooth device is connected. So the idea here is, say you set up the home one. So when you're at home, you could have your phone change the sound profile to maybe silent or vibrate, and turn Bluetooth on or off, or Wi-Fi on or off. So maybe you want to connect to your home Wi-Fi and turn Wi-Fi on when you're at home. You can have that automatically happen. And then when you're away from home, you could tell Wi-Fi to turn back off and Bluetooth to turn on, and your sound to go up and things like that. I've also set it up so that if I plug in headphones, Google Play Music automatically opens, or when I connect to a specific Bluetooth device. In this situation, I believe I have it set up to my Jaybirds X2 headphones. Runkeeper launches, since those are the headphones I use while running. So not super advanced setup in here, but definitely some things that can be automated to help you get a lot of things done in the future. And finally, for number 10, I would say always have a spare battery on hand. So one of the big selling points here with the G5 is the fact that you can touch this little button here, slide this drawer out, and swap batteries. So if you bought the G5 near launch, then you probably were able to secure a free separate battery and battery charging cradle. So what I've done, for example, is I go to bed at night and don't charge my phone. And when I wake up in the morning, I have a battery in the charging cradle ready to go that's fresh, so I can just swap out my battery. And then I throw the old one back in and charge it up. So then at the end of the day, when my phone's starting to dwindle in battery, rather than having to plug it in for an hour to get some juice, I have a fresh battery, swap it out, and I'm ready to go. So I would just sort of suggest taking advantage of this, since this is really one of the only phones that can do this. If you're not familiar, to get these batteries off, it sounds like you're going to break it, but you sort of push it this way and then it kind of pops off. So you push it this way is sort of the motion, and then to slide it back on, you just sort of reverse that, pop it on like that, push the phone in this way, let it click, and power it back on. So again, extra battery. If you're going to buy a G5, that's one of the selling points you may as well take advantage of, especially right now while they're just handing out these things. So anyways, that's been the 10 first things you should do with your LG G5. If you guys come up with some other things you think people should do, make sure you leave that in the comments. For now, though, we are Droid Life. Peace.